What's up, guys? Code Doug here, and we're back with another exciting breakdown from Poker Go's High Stakes Poker. This time, we're taking a look at everyone's favorite poker hand. No, it's not 98 suited. We're talking about pocket aces in an incredible hand that happened with Ryan Feldman. Let's go ahead and jump into the action.
Is this the last button? No, not even close.
Aces for Feldman, raises to 8,000. Steve.
Call.
Attaboy.
All right, Ryan. Back on the horse.
I do not like that you picked that up.
Steve is in.
I do not like that you picked up that English phrase.
It's got to be hard. You take a couple bad beats, then you get aces, right? So you feel like,
Well, it's exciting, too, because they might think you're frustrated.
Our hand begins at 200, 400, 800, and of course, Alan Keating putting on the $1,600 straddle. At this point, Ryan Feldman looks down at pocket aces. The man has just taken a couple beats. He's losing money, and he looks steamed up. The perfect time to come in with pocket aces. He raises it up, a little bit of a big raise here. I'd probably prefer to see something a little bit smaller, but maybe this is kind of the standard raise at the table. Regardless, Feldman makes it $8,000 to go. And now the action's over to Steve in the small blind with Queen 10 offsuit. Typically, you want to just be letting this one go. Maybe Steve has some kind of read or dynamic with Feldman that he thinks is going to play a role. I really don't know. Maybe he thinks Feldman's just tilted and he wants to make a move against him. Regardless, I'd probably lean towards just letting this one go pre-flop, but it's not the end of the world to see a flop. Now over to Alan Keating in the straddle with the ace-8 suited. This is a hand that typically likes just to call the raise. Don't mind re-raising it every now and then to kind of mix that into your play. But you do have other suited aces that are nicer to re-raise, like ace-5 suited or ace-10 suited. So with this hand, I do probably prefer the call. He makes the call, and let's take a flop.
Extremely clean for Feldman. Oh, here he goes.
that. $600's not enough. Feldman makes it 10,000.
Stevie, baby. What's going on here, Steve? Is he going to rep the 4 at some point this hand? This is odd. Queen 10 off,
Probably gonna
AJ.
donk out here.
Yeah.
The flop comes 9-4-4 rainbow. This is not an action flop. However, oftentimes at Poker Go, they do have action flops. And if you want to check out all of their exclusive library of content and new streams, some of the highest stakes games and shows, you can head on over to pokergo.com. Check it out. I'll put a link in the description below. What a seamless transition. Beautiful. Anyway, back to the hand. So 9-4-4 rainbow. We've got an overpair of aces. You'd think, again, this is just the kind of hand that would be a flop bet and everyone would fold, but not the case. In fact, we go off the rails early with Steve deciding to make, I guess, a move with a very small $600 lead into two people. I'm not sure what this is. I think he's trying to throw people off. And there are some people that do this where they play weird little tiny bets in places so that they can see how people react. It's very important in these spots. You just treat it like a check. If you have any hand, you're going to call this, and just Feldman should raise his normal hands. And just, if people get cute, let them be cute. Pretend it's not even happening. Anyway, so Feldman now aces, makes it 10K. Seems like a fine raise. I don't mind occasionally just calling, not because I'm scared of the $600 bet, but because I would sometimes trap my aces and check back here. I mean, what turns are you scared of? I mean, a 9's not the best, but really, they're all pretty good turns. And then that way, opponents can bluff, they can turn pairs. So I would say I don't mind going for the check back here some, but I also don't mind the raise. It's probably a little better to raise. People think you're steamed up from losing a big pot. So anyway, Feldman does raise. And this is once again, and these are going to be fun hands because we're going to take all the theory and we're going to put it to the side, because obviously in theory, you never ever call this. There's not going to be any kind of theory moving forward from this point. But let's think about what might Steve be thinking. I think it's possible that Steve thinks that Feldman is so upset from the past hands and they are deep enough where he can make a move here and represent having a 4, and he might be able to get Feldman to fold a big hand. Now, in my experience, when people are tilted, running gigantic bluffs on them is usually not the best play. Personal experience. However, Steve might know Feldman very well and also know that it's perhaps possible Feldman will make a big fold to him if he reps this 4. So, Steve decides to go ahead and make the float here out of position with queen high, and let's take a turn.
Oh, jack on the
Oh
turn.
my,
Wow,
Steve
22.
open-ended and leads 22 dimes.
Big decision here for Feldman.
Yeah, we're between call and just raise once more.
How much? I'm thinking about the amount of the raise. Or the bet.
It's a quite odd spot. Perhaps Steve somehow hit the jack with something like jack 10. We don't really think he has a 9 taking this line. I feel it's either the 4 or...
Raise to 55, right?
It's
Here we go.
55,000.
By the way, this hand is insane.
It's
AJ.
just adding up here.
The turn comes an offsuit jack. There will not be a flush in this hand. The board is a full rainbow. No flush draws for anyone. At this point now, Steve decides to once again tell this story that he does in fact have a 4 and leads $22,000, or roughly about half of the pot. This is the difficult thing about being out of position. If you want to make these creative floats and plays, you have to take some unorthodox lines just to make sure you get the chance to bet. If he decides to check here on the turn, he needs Feldman to bet in order to raise, and the pot might be too small if it goes check, check. So Steve now is springing the trap. He's going to go ahead and represent he has a 4 with a $22,000 bet, and he's also improved notably. Now a king or an 8 gives him a straight, so this is definitely the best card in the deck for Steve, but at the same time, he is still far behind pocket aces. Over to Feldman here with pocket aces facing this bet. You know, I, at this point, probably would lean towards just slow playing, because if you raise here, this pot can get out of control. And for your opponent to lead, call a raise, lead big again, call a raise, we're getting into territory where they're often going to have a 4, I bet, because at some point, it's just too much money for a hand like 10-9 suited to want to put in, right? If you have a pair of 9s, you're scared of overpairs. So I think I like a call here from Feldman, but, and you got to give him some credit, Feldman knows his customer, and he thinks Steve is just full of it. He makes it $55,000 to go, not afraid of a 4 whatsoever in Ryan Feldman base camp. And now back over to Steve. At this point, you're getting 4-1 and you have a straight draw. So I don't think there's that much he can do other than just call this small raise, which he does decide to do. And let's take a river. The river comes a king, giving Steve a backdoor straight. That's right, a hand that was never supposed to be in there whatsoever has now luck boxed its way into a hand that beats pocket aces. This is a terrible bad beat. I mean, look, the chances of winning this hand were astronomical. In fact, I've not seen a beat this bad since every single session I play on Club WPT Gold. Seriously. These beats happen constantly because people have hands that never make sense whatsoever, and they're in there anyway using code Doug. I am doing a $100,000 in a month challenge, and I'm going to give it all away to you guys if you sign up and deposit using code Doug. If you want to check that out, I'll be streaming most mornings to afternoons, and frankly, everywhere in between. I'll see you over there for the challenge. But back there to this hand. We now have a straight for Steve here with the Queen 10. And what does he want to do? Does he want to check? Or is it time to lead once again here, the third lead, the trifecta, and go for some value? And that's exactly what Steve decides to do with a $111,000 bet. I guess, the lead, right? Because if you check raise, you're going to end up with boats. If you bet, you're going to get some calls. So I think it's fine. I would lean towards just checking here in general, but I can see what Steve is trying to get done. Now, at this point in the hand, most people, when facing a $111,000 river bet, they'd go deep into the tank. They would think it over. They would put a lot of effort into deducing, can I get away? But my friend's not Ryan Feldman. Ryan Feldman has pocket aces. And so the number of seconds it takes for him to put the money in the middle, it's really more about the laws of physics.
Oh my God, that's
Okay.
really vicious.
Wow.
Yeah.
So stupid call.
That is so vicious for Feldman, man.
Oof.
What is going on? Like, how do you have Queen 10 on 449 for 15,000? What?
That's going to be it for me. Thank you guys for tuning in. We do have a giant tournament at the Lodge going on right now. $1 million guaranteed. Head on down to Lodge Card Club for your chance to win our championship event. Thanks, guys.